Do, Oh, Slack plugin for this. Oh, okay. You can hear me? Can you hear me? Two. Woo. All right. I thought it would be a lot more like where we all saw each other, but I guess that's like a regular hangout instead of what this is. This is my first time using Air, so all these cool buttons. And then did the questions and answers thing? Like I have a little box here, but I have absolutely no idea what it does. Look at that, that's pretty cool. There's a little Slack plugin too. Huh. Oh, did you do that? What is interesting about the Caribbean? Select. Oh yeah, look at that. Now I can see. Yeah. Well, that was pretty cool. So I click on it and then you answer it. All right. Okay. So let me. Couch allows you to see questions and answers. All right, that's pretty cool. Questions in the box, yeah. You see that. Questions. All righty. Looks like we got 5 people now. That's awesome. Do you do intros? Like, can people basically, just so I can figure out who my audience is? Is there a way to know who's out there, or do you want me just to start my thing? In case people are wondering who I was talking to, I'm getting a reply on Slack. From Joanna. So while she's talking, I'll go ahead and give a brief intro to me. My name is James Ruffer. My background is actually in computer forensics and ethical hacking. Security expert. I used to basically do forensics for the New York State Police, a lot of Fortune 50 companies in the New York City area, and then jumped to the other side. I started doing penetration testing, breaking into buildings, computer hacking, things like that. It's a lot of fun. I definitely recommend if you're looking for something really cool to do in your life to look at becoming an ethical computer hacker. From there, I moved to the Chicago area, where I started getting into the financial technology space. Currently, I am an investor and co-founder in a payment startup called Pay, P-A-A-Y. And I live in Memphis, Tennessee now. I moved down here to be with my father because he wasn't doing too well health-wise. And as my profile kind of said, I love the Caribbean. We've been going down, my wife and I have been going down there for quite a while. And going to, island hopping. First we started doing sandals. And then one day we went to a really horrible sandals, actually in Barbados, which was good because it actually got us out on the island. And what an amazing experience. So we actually stopped doing sandals and started basically doing either kind of hotels or Airbnb, if you will, and spent a month on each island just to kind of find out where we wanted to live. And ironically, Barbados is where we're currently looking. We absolutely love it there. The people are extremely nice. We love the fintech ecosystem that's there with bit.com. And so that's a little bit about me. Just some housekeeping things. I have two brand new kittens. So they have little bells on their collars right now. So it sounds like it's Christmas time at the Ruffer house. It's not. It's just some crazy cats running around here. I put the bells on there so I wouldn't step on them or kick them across the room. And then I also have three very large German Shepherds. So if they start barking, I'll mute myself and tell them to be quiet. Thank you so much for having me. So I basically just wanted to talk about a company that I started when I moved here in the Memphis area around the 2005-2006 timeframe. The company was called Resolute Games, and it started out as a console gaming company. We were going to build games for Nintendo and Xbox. During the same time that we thought of doing this, this crazy device called the iPhone had just been released or was being released. And so we thought it might be easier to break into their doing gaming rather than the very crowded market of Nintendo and Xbox. So we went out and bought a Mac Mini, my brother-in-law and I, and basically some students from the local college. And we got together, set up this Mac Mini, and spent probably about 5 hours trying to get a red dot with a white background to display on the iPhone. And you would think that we just found the cure for like hepatitis or some crazy whatever by putting this red dot, finally getting the red dot with a white background on the iPhone. And then we spent another 4 hours trying to change it to black with a blue dot. So once we figured out how to do certain things, we bought a couple more Mac Minis. Word of mouth got out that there was a new gaming company in the Memphis area, even though we actually were not promoting. We were just a bunch of geeks getting together, trying to do something a lot of fun. It started out as a hobby. At the end, what ended up happening is every Tuesday and Thursday, about 18 of us got together to do development on the iPhone, everything from sound engineers, graphic artists, and developers. and eventually we hired a sales guy. And none of us actually took in the salaries. If you looked at our financial sheet, it was actually the biggest cost for our company was every Tuesday and Thursday for the students and ourselves, and we bought a refrigerator and we stocked it with Cokes at a local accelerator space that was nice enough to let us go there for free on Tuesday and Thursdays. So in the beginning, our core focus was gaming. We just wanted to make games on the iPhone. So the 5 of us that eventually grew to 18, just the 5 of us, we built a game called Thumbstruck. Basically, the concept of it was you had some basically 3 orbs or 3 dots that fell from the top of the screen, and it had 3 bars at the bottom, and they were color coded, red, blue, and yellow. So when the blue orb got to the blue line, you basically had to touch it to make it explode, and the orbs would actually be synchronized to the music and rhythm. After we started doing that, a very similar game came out called Tap Tap, or Tap Joy, something like that. That was kind of like Guitar Hero. It was more of a lines in a guitar, but it was the same concept. So we learned a ton on the gaming side of licensing music, which was really interesting to get into. Who owned the intellectual property, the graphics associated with it. It was a great learning curve for us in the beginning. So one of the really interesting lessons in the beginning to learn is, we basically came up with this company culture of doing gamings, always having fun. Sometimes we would get together on Fridays and basically just do LAN parties and just keep the atmosphere extremely fun, because then again it was more of a hobby than anything else. We created a couple more games, which was really cool. A Segment, which was the most frustrating game ever. It's the only time I've ever actually thrown a iPhone across the room. It was one of those picture games that would jumble the picture, and then you had to slide it back together with one piece missing. And then you had to do it in a certain amount of time, and if you didn't reach that time, it would mix the pieces over again. So that was our first paid game. The first game that we created, Thumbstruck, was free, and we had a little over 500,000 downloads, which was really good for us in the beginning. We made it to the top 10 free games, and I think that's why it got to close to 500,000 downloads at the time. We had a beginner, medium, and expert level, which meant more orbs, etc. From there, we created a game called 7 Deaths of Hagamachi. That was really interesting. It was our first multiplayer game, and from there, basically, it had one iPhone, 2 players, and it basically had 2 characters that were fighting each other. It had a timer, kind of like on a race car track, countdown, and whoever swiped first before the other, when the button said go, would actually win. Then you could play other people, or you could actually play other computer itself, which we had basically messaging. We had a storyboard. We had some creative writers come in and basically create this whole reason for this one particular person to get to the top level person, and why it was actually why he had to basically kill all 7 of these people to get there. So that part was really interesting. We had a lot of fun with that. So now basically comes about the time when myself and my brother-in-law realized that we were spending a good chunk of money of our own for a hobby that actually wasn't making any money back. And this is kind of where we lost our focus, in my opinion. And I think in his opinion as well. So by this time, we were probably close to 10 guys ordering pizza and sodas. Was probably getting somewhere between 60 and 70 US dollars per day. So we had the reputation of troubleshooting and knowing a lot of things about iPhones and the production and programming behind it. So we had a lot of people coming to us asking us if we would create them an app. And in the beginning, we basically wanted to stick to our core and our company culture of just doing games. So we wanted to basically make Thumbstruck version 2. We wanted to release a different version of Segment. We had a drop game. The name of it slips me, but that was a really fun game. So we just basically wanted to continue down that path. But money got in the way. So we went out and started attempting to get investors at the time, and nobody really wanted to put any money in a company that really wasn't formed. It had no employees per se. It was just a bunch of volunteers, if you will. No revenues at the time. So we went ahead and took a contract with Elvis. So Elvis Presley Enterprises came to us, and we created an app for them, basically using a whole bunch of RSS feeds and XML to basically just be a content provider for pictures, live streaming on the video cameras, some videos that they had, XM radio, and there might have been like 1 or 2 different features there. But it was basically just a framework for their backend servers to push content to an app. And so that was actually gave us enough money to last another 4 weeks to 5 weeks to be able to continue down the pizza and Cokes and Mountain Dew and try to create more games. What we didn't do properly is we actually signed the game as a developer as Resolute Games. So if you ever look at who writes the games on the iPhone under the developers licenses, you'll actually see sometimes someone has created the game for them, and that's when everybody in our area started contacting us about doing apps for them. Everyone from our local paper, other musicians. So seeing this, we made a decision to pivot a little bit and actually start doing commercial and also business apps on top of trying to stay focused on Thumbstruck 2. But we definitely lost our way. So we followed the money. We started creating a platform for people to have a very simplistic app that's branded themselves to deliver things like videos and RSS news feeds and things like that. We created a really neat garage sales app for our local paper that had a map that pinpointed all the local garage sales so people could wake up on Saturday morning and plot what garage sales they actually want to go to. And believe it or not, that was actually our second most downloaded app. You'd be surprised at how many garage sales gurus, or whatever you want to call them, are out there. And as that money started coming in, we were actually able to split the percentage of that money after expenses with some of the developers, some of the artists, and then We did hire a marketing company to kind of help oversee the projects because, again, we were only doing this on Tuesday and Thursdays, and deadlines for a lot of these projects were a little shorter than the time that we had. So to do it all over again up to this point that we're talking now, I definitely think that we should have quit doing the pizza and the sodas, and basically said, BYOB, LP, and let's try to do Thumbstruck 2. Let's stay focused on the games and see if we can't create the next viral game that could potentially fund us. So we watched everybody after us do certain things that we really wanted to do and should have done and could have beat them to market to do it. Tap ended up creating, I think, like 4 or 5 different versions. They weren't an Angry Birds, but at the time they were pretty much successful as an Angry Birds because of the amount of downloads and the in-app purchases and things like that. And we should have basically did that as well, in my opinion. So we had something that was working. We should have stayed with what we really enjoyed and really loved to do. But instead, we veered off to find money that was associated with it. And then as some developers saw other developers getting paid, they stopped doing games and wanted to do more apps and be on the commercial side. So essentially, we went from a gaming company to an iPhone development company, which has its pros and cons. For me, it wasn't. I wasn't there to create another business just to make money. I wanted to do something fun and really. It was a hobby. It was getting together with friends. It was a lot of fun, but we definitely lost our focus when it came to that. So, lesson number 1 on the failure was, if you do have a startup, stay focused, tighten the belt. Don't go into what we call shiny coin syndrome, which is, there's something new and shiny over here, and you need to follow that in order to stay on the cutting edge, to become profitable and to make real money. Sometimes it is plain and boring and repetitious, but in the long run, that money that comes in from that repetition can do a lot for your company. From 10 people to about, again, 18 people, we pretty much were not doing games anymore. We were doing Elvis Mobile. We did the commercial appeal. We ended up doing the FedEx app. We started contract negotiations with a couple other Fortune 50 companies. At that point, we started bringing on people full-time, started doing salaries, started doing health benefits. My brother-in-law kept his day job. I didn't draw a salary at the time, or any time with that particular company, just again because it was still fun for me. But if we were to do it all over again, I think we would stay focused on the games. During the negotiations for a Fortune 50 company, we put a lot of effort, probably pretty much 12 guys onto one app. We weren't big enough to do a lot of sales and development at the same time. These guys basically came in and purchased 1,000 hours for a quarter, April. And we didn't think we could take any more work during that time, so that we put all our eggs in one basket. We didn't diversify anything. And again, we weren't working on what we started out doing, which was games. At this point, we stopped with the games. Once these Fortune 500 company found out that we didn't have a certain type of insurance, they actually dropped our contract, which basically ended up essentially putting us out of business because we had no backup when it came to revenue, and they hadn't paid us for the first 200 to 300 hours that we were actually doing it. So the lesson there is at least do an 80-20 split if you get a really large contract like that, just so they have skin in the game. You don't have a ton of overhead that you have to do through credit or something to that extent. And make sure that you read the contracts that you're negotiating and signing with. That particular clause in there wasn't as detailed as we thought it needed to be, but at the end of the day, it came back and bit us and essentially put us out of business. We did have some intellectual property that we ended up selling off to pay off some debts and make sure that the guys had a little bit of a severance pay to find another job. I still stay in touch with all of them. It was an amazing ride. There was nothing more fun than that group of guys getting together and developing in the beginning, and then just saying, hey, let's do some R&D and start, playing some games. That was the best time. But again, staying focused, staying away from the shiny coin syndrome was definitely an epic failure on our end. If we were to do it over again, I definitely would have done Thumbstruck 2 and try to compete with the Tap Taps and eventually become Angry Birds. So there's 4 of you here. I only see Joanne that did kind of an intro there, which I greatly appreciate. I want to pause for a second to see if there's any questions. I don't know how long you wanted this to actually be, Joanne. So I'll pause for a second. See if there's any questions. I wonder if I can actually type on these at the same time. Selecting question. Currently answering. So I can't actually type, I have to talk. Awesome. Viewers. So, all right. Well, if there are any questions, I don't want to spend too much time. I don't like sitting here and just kind of talking. So I was really hoping more for a Q&A. So I will type the Q&A real quick. Oh, wow. Okay. If any of you guys are on Slack and want to type some questions there, I'm in the general channel there as well. I'm at JRuffer. Why games? Oh, cool. Thanks. Appreciate that. It's helpful. So we wanted to do games because my brother-in-law was a huge gamer. Console game, Doom. I was more of a PC guy. I liked Counter-Strike at the time. Kind of showing my age here. But in Capture the Flag, when it came to that stuff, And doing development all day long, it's, especially in the fintech and financial space, there's only so many lines of code you can write to do something that was extremely boring. So really wanted to get into breaking down the games of actually how they were done, get into the graphic design, 3D modeling. Some of the guys I very much enjoyed the storytelling. Like literally, we have all of the whiteboards all the way around us, and they were going from mock-up to mock-up, especially with 7 Deaths of Hagamachi, of basically coming through saying, this person met this woman, he killed his mother's grandmother's aunts, and they would just kind of draw a little bit of what she could possibly look like, and in the storytelling, and then being able to build that into the graphics, watching them actually hand draw each frame was, it just gave me a much better sense of how game development is done, and how much time is actually going into it. If you look at some of the games today, like League of Legends, and I can't fathom how long it took them to do the things that they actually did. The part that I much enjoyed was things like the leaderboard, creating the communities, which was a lot of fun. The competition and how fast Thumbstruck actually grew. We basically had about 10 guys that kept knocking each other off the leaderboard on an hourly, even a minute basis. And the amount of time that they actually spent on this game was absolutely sick. So if we looked at the data, most games had somewhere between 3 to 5 minutes, about an average song for Thumbstruck. Except for 7 Deaths of Hagamachi was about a 20-minute game to get from beginning to end, because there's a lot of storytelling, and that was interesting to go through because we didn't know if someone would be in front of their iPhone for 20 minutes. But they did. So we had about, I want to say about 30,000 downloads. Don't quote me on that. When it came to 7 Deaths of Hagamachi, and they all played it straight through. So that was probably the game that took us the longest to develop, and then it had the shortest lifespan. So it would have been really interesting to see maybe 8 Deaths of Hagamachi. I don't know what the next version of that was, but it was really cool because everything was hand drawn. We put on the frame by frame, and then watching the developers basically listen to them and then code it. Hands down was really, really interesting to watch. When it came to the non-game stuff, again, it was fun to overcome certain things. We found out really quickly how poor the processing and memory was on the iPhone itself. We found out very quickly to basically do everything on the server side and push it to the iPhone. And probably the same for a lot of things that go on today. Support was really interesting because, again, when I say Tuesday and Thursdays, we actually got together after 5 p.m. and we would go until we were done hitting certain milestones, which was long nights, but a lot of fun nights. Yeah, so that's pretty much why we got into games. Thanks for asking that question. Thanks for the softball. So I see there's three other viewers. Do you guys do you have any questions? Not necessarily just about Resolute Games or my background, or do you have anything that you're working on that? I love that question. That I love that question. How do you recover after a failure? So a lot of people can't actually. So I think it's a mindset. So in the bio, kind of talked a little bit about how I learned how to play chess. Literally, it was picking up a piece, moving it, and the computer saying it can't move there. So picking up a piece and just kind of mirroring what the computer was doing, and then all of a sudden, I would get this "you lost," and I just kept doing it over and over and over. So some people you have to have um, that mentality of it's okay to fail, learn from it, and then use what you learned to do it over. I really love what Techstars does for startups when it comes to failure. So they get the whole team together, and they pretty much have a wake. They pretty much have a funeral that they put together. They talk about all the good things. They talk about all the bad things. They pop champagne. They drink beer, and they basically they put it down, and they make it a joyous moment. And I think Resolute Games, even though it was a failure, was a very joyous moment because we were able to see what we accomplished. We were the first ones to do certain things when it came to that particular technology. And every guy that was there today is a high-level senior developer for some of the most amazing companies out there today, still doing iPhone and Android development. I forgot to say that we also had 3 guys that came in and did Android development for us as well. So to take a failure is difficult when it comes from a mindset because nobody really likes to fail. But what we did learn was even in our certain projects when we created basically an app for the local paper on pushing news feeds. We created this platform called App Panda. And what it was is it basically allowed people to come and develop their own iPhone app on the fly. So it was a web app that you came in, basically just copied and pasted your RSS feeds. You chose which feed you wanted, videos, news feed, pictures. My mind is slipping. And then basically you would publish that to us and pay $29 a month, and we would put it on the iPhone and Android for you. So it's kind of an aggregation model of one technology pushing out to the other. And we took all the technology that we used for Elvis Mobile to actually create that. Because as we were talking with people about building apps, a lot of them basically were coming up with the same concept of Elvis Mobile. We just want this as a brand. We just basically want to say that we have an app on the App Store that's basically not a mobile-friendly version of our website. So that once everybody kept asking for that, we realized that, hey, if we don't want to make these same apps over and over and all go absolutely insane, then let's create a backend to actually to push this. The major failure that it came out of that, and the plus is because we actually did make money reusing old code and reusing the same code. So that was a great lesson for us. The bad part about it is that particular web app we tried to push out to the newspapers for all the newspapers and magazines in the United States, and that was just a really bad vertical to choose because they were dying at the time. They're still today. It's very rare that newspapers have a really good IT budget. So we basically took that same concept, made it into more of an enterprise version of the same thing, branded it for just news feeds and for newspapers, and attempted to charge $299 and $399 based on how big the paper was. And again, going into that vertical was just epic failure. It was we found one customer and tried to see if there were multiple customers that would want it, which I think the technique is relatively good. Just the industry was bad. And if we basically continued down that same methodology for gaming, I think we would have been a lot happier as people, instead of running out of money, running out of pizza, and running out of Cokes. I think what really did it was running out of pizza. I think once we didn't have any more pizza, that's when it was time to turn the lights off, right? No, I'm just joking. From there, so taking the IP was also another way that we kind of had a bit of a successful exit, because we didn't sell off any of the games that we had or the gaming IP. We kept that, but we did basically have an acquisition of a lot of the commercialized stuff. A lot of the guys went to go work for the company that ended up purchasing Resolute Games, and then from there, my brother-in-law did it all over again. So maybe there was just something wrong with us. I don't know. But he started with a biomedical company that's doing really well today. Again, building it from bootstrapped. This time it stayed laser focused. And same with myself. I started a fintech company, and we've been staying laser focused when it came to that. So taking those failures with the sales on the tech side has really helped for that. Thank you for that question. Cool. What else? Man, I just hey, thank you for that. Are you working? Have you worked with any businesses in the Caribbean? I have not. And currently, no, we're not working with any businesses in the Caribbean. I think I lack the contacts there right now. How do I put this? One of the things that we really want to do is do something similar to what Odd Networks did. Odd Networks is a video gaming, a video. They're a gaming company, but they do video delivery, kind of like a Netflix for all the devices out there. So if you have video content, they will push it to all the devices for you. In the beginning, they basically were a paid service, and what they ended up doing was actually open sourcing it. And once they open sourced it, holy cow, they just exploded. All of their competitors came and started using their technology. They're just doing really, really well. So one of the things that we're actually considering doing now is open sourcing our mobile wallet. And I know a couple of people in the Caribbean that are interested in the wallet side of our technology. And I think that might be one of our first use cases, is bringing it to the Caribbean as an open source project and seeing if it can be used down there. Hope that answered your question, Mr. Don Hot. Where are you from? Where in the Caribbean are you from, sir? Thanks for that question. I will be a little stingy and say that we are looking for some more developers, and I'd like to basically start hiring some PHP developers out of the Caribbean as next stages for our particular company. Right now, our developers are all throughout the world. Actually, a couple of them are in RV traveling around the United States right now. We basically have the culture of as long as you hit milestones, you can live or work wherever you want. We stick with Tuesday and Thursday stand-up meetings, and you do have to attend those. You do if you're hanging out, and then the rest of the week you work, 3 o'clock in the morning, whenever. But because we have that culture, a lot of our U.S. guys ended up going overseas, kind of traveling around in the area, and we need a little bit more support in this time zone until they start getting back with their traveling. And then I am looking for a house in Barbados. Once I get that, then most likely we will grab an office and hopefully start creating some jobs there in Barbados. I've met some really, really intelligent guys there that are doing some really neat stuff. And I think there's some really good possibilities of more fintech companies coming out of that area. I also know that there's some really smart people in Grenada. I haven't been to the island yet, but just talking to you, I feel like there's probably some smart people around you as well. So once we get out there, maybe we can start having some hackathons, and my wife and I would be interested in pumping some money into some really cool ideas. Maybe even making the incubator space. I'm not really sure about accelerators. I'm not a huge accelerator fan per se. It takes a lot of time and money to do accelerators, and I'm not sure I have that particular time. Okay, nice. So you're near Joanne. Am I saying that right, Joanne? Yeah, I think your island is the closest to land, if I'm correct. Is there a bridge connecting your island, or do you actually have to do a boat? I should have probably do that before I asked the question. But TT, as they call it, is definitely on our schedule to visit. Now that I've met some of the really cool people from there. Man, your island is huge compared to all the other ones. We are thinking about actually visiting Cuba relatively soon before it gets Americanized. I heard it's a really pretty island as well. Yeah. I'm curious if there's a bridge that goes to the mainland with Trinidad. Looks like you have. Well, it looks like there's also another island. So that's Trinidad and that's Trinidad. So they're two different islands. That's bad. So that makes sense now. All those things. Are your aha moments usually in space or outside? Wow, getting really deep on you now. So I think both. I think a lot of people basically have this concept, or they have this baby that they want to make, and their vision is this, and they don't take enough feedback, or they don't do enough customer survey or customer discovery to find out what they could have done to make their idea better. So that aha moment usually comes after the failure of people saying, yeah, that was it was a pretty decent idea, but if you did this, um, then I would have purchased it, or then it would have been better, and it's a particular feature or something that you don't like, So that's how a lot of failures from not pivoting happen. It's not necessarily a shiny coin syndrome issue. It's more of just I don't want my baby to be ugly, right? So kind of an example of that was in Thumbstruck. We had a lot of people basically tell us that the hard level was way too hard. And the reason that we made it so difficult was because of the leaderboard, right? So none of us really thought about ticking off or pissing off our end users because we wanted a consistency of a leaderboard there. And I think that was kind of an aha moment when people started giving us 2, maybe sometimes 3 stars, when originally we were getting 4 and 5 stars. And basically most of the feedback was this new update, the medium and hard versions are way too difficult. The other aha moments are definitely if you have the option, and that's why I love that Techstars actually does kind of a burial of a failure, is the relive the moments. And then you can kind of get those aha moments after the failure as well, which are very appreciative because you can apply those in whatever that you're doing today and kind of go from there. Thanks again for that question. That was really awesome. What do you think about that? Trinidad, 2 main island, boats and planes to get to and from the next closest to the South America. So there's no bridge from Trinidad to South America? Am I reading that correctly? Only boats and planes, right? That's awesome. And then, do you think Trinidad and is more of a of all the islands? Why it seems like Trinidad is very popular compared to the other ones when it comes to technology. Why is that? Now I'm asking you guys questions. Because I know Jamaica has a pretty good tech side, which we visited a little bit. They had a startup weekend there that I just missed. I actually went the weekend after because of some miscommunication there. St. Lucia, St. Vincent, a couple of the other islands, I didn't really see much of a tech industry, no offense. Just when, Barbados, Grenada, and now I hear a lot about Trinidad, especially from the bit.com guys. The other place that we were thinking about actually looking into was Belize. But after reviewing and seeing all the feedback, I guess the internet is a lot more stable in Barbados than it is in Belize, and it's faster. So I found that quite entertaining. So I'm going to wrap things up here. I greatly appreciate everybody coming out and listening to me babble. I'd love to come back and do oil and gas for tech here. I'd love to do more of a geeky kind of event if you guys would be interested into it. I have just recently gave a tech talk on the agile process of project management. And what that consists of is showing geeks and non-geeks, kind of CEO, CTO, whether you're a startup or in a really large company, adding one feature, not doing, or adding a whole new a project of scoping out the work, finding a budget, finding a timeline, and then keeping everybody accountable, utilizing a bunch of note cards and interviewing. So if you guys would be interested in doing something like that, I'd be interested in giving that session. So, all right. Well, thanks everybody. And it seems like there's actually might be a little bit of a delay when it comes from the broadcasting video to you guys based on the questions. So I'm just going to type to. No, that's all right. Yeah, I was just saying that. That's fine. 3-minute delay, as you said. So no, I really appreciate you watching. So I'm going to end it here, and I'm on Slack pretty much all day, every day, all the time. Again, it's J Ruffer, JRUFFER. So if you have any questions, feel free to ping me there, and then I'll follow up with Joanna on any other sessions or any feedback and things like that. So thanks for having me, and hope to see you guys again, or talk to you guys again. Cheers.